her quite literally playing a woman being abused did not even calculate in her mind how women who are abused feel. So much so that she said, grab your girls, wear your floral, come out and have a ball. Like we're coming to watch the Barbie movie or something. Welcome back to the Just Healing podcast. I've missed you guys so much. If you are a new listener, welcome to my podcast. Welcome to this space. I hope that you are ready to just start healing, getting in your healing era. That is what we're all about over here, being in our healing era and just going through it with one another, by also involving a little pop culture. I have really seen that through this journey, I just really am able to sit back and be like, you know what, life's not that. No, never mind. I enjoy watching it on a bigger platform so that I'm able to kind of relate it back to me. And with today's episode, that is definitely what I'm going to be doing. But before we get into any of that, I always start off my episodes with a healing with feelings, as well as a healing hacks that I like to share with you that helps me. So let's just get right into the biz so that we can get into other people's biz, if that makes sense. Like first, I'm gonna let y'all in my business. I hope that you also checking in with your own self, your own emotions, your own business, and then we're going to get into other people's business, because I mean, sometimes that's just what you need to do. So anywho, my healing with feelings this week is a little, I don't know, I'm going to be very honest with you, it's very all over the place. Like it is extremely all over the place. Sunday would have been my dad's 74th birthday. So it was my first birthday without him. And you know how they say when someone dies, you have your first. So this was the first of that. I'm actually kind of grateful that my dad passed away a month before Father's Day, because it was all still so fresh that the first Father's Day didn't really feel like a first. So I feel like this Father's Day coming up is going to feel way worse than last Father's Day, because it didn't really feel like a first because his death was still so fresh. And then, like I already have said in previous episodes, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those felt weird, but I was okay. His birthday, to be honest, I was more of a wreck on my baby's birthday, which was the 5th. And I think that's because my dad used to always say that my baby was going to come on his birthday. So I think I just woke up with the emotions of him turning 2 and just knowing that my dad's birthday was right around the corner, not knowing how I was going to take it. And so I think I used that anticipation, and I was more sad on the baby's birthday due to my dad's birthday than I was on my dad's actual birthday. I also made sure I woke up, I prayed, I thanked God that I was able to spend not 73 birthdays with my dad, but 33 birthdays with my dad in that 73, 33 out of 73 years of his life. I was able to celebrate it with him. And I was just also grateful and just praying, and just thanking God that he allowed my dad to make it to 73. So I did that. I went to church. Then it was the Super Bowl. Y'all, I don't know about y'all. First of all, anyone that's saying Kendrick's halftime show was not good, this is probably not the channel for you, because the artistry, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I had to literally go to ChatGPT the next day and ask them to break it down. And the whole day I was just watching all these people break it down. But anyway, I loved it. I kind of just loved that the Super Bowl fell on my dad's birthday. My dad was a huge sports fan. Like, he would watch the baseball games, the basketball games, but he loved him some Cleveland Browns. And we all know they will not be in the Super Bowl, but it was still just good, like celebrating the Super Bowl just in honor of him. And the Eagles won, so I was very glad that the Kansas City Chiefs didn't win. I'm absolutely, call me a Kansas City Chiefs hater, I don't care. I didn't like them when I was there. I just don't like them. Like, I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I think he is one of those guys who tries to come off as like a nice guy, but he's really a jerk. Or not even just a jerk, but just not a nice guy. And that's okay, but don't try to come off as a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you were to meet like a LeBron James in person, he would still have that same aura about himself. He would still be fun, just that courageous guy. I even love that, like, Jalen Hurts, who's the quarterback for the Eagles, you could just tell he's not really like loud. He's not really, he's just himself. There's something about Patrick Mahomes that's just not authentic to me. And I just don't feel like he also like really, I don't really think he like addresses his black side. And I don't like that. I just don't like him, and I can't stand his wife. Whatever. So yeah, I think that the Super Bowl and just going to church and just really being surrounded by love and community all that day was a really big help for me. I do have a bit of anxiety just about things that are coming up. But as always, I'm just trying to pray those demons away. Like, don't need any of that over here. So yeah, that's kind of just been my emotions. I've just been kind of like all over the place, but overall, I'm making it, and I'm not drowning. I'm not even like, the water's not even like here where I'm about to drown. Like, I'm all right. My healing hack for this week. What has my healing hack been? My healing hack has actually been trying to really clean. It's really easy, especially when you're a mom of two, a single mom. It's really easy to just let everything just pile up, and before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do in it. Like, even when you clean, like, I'm definitely like a daily cleaner, but even when I was cleaning every day, I'm like, okay, nothing's happening because I'm cleaning, then we're in there or doing something, so then the mess is occurring again, and then I'm cleaning again, and it just, so I have just really been trying to take spaces. Last week I randomly went and cleaned out my car. That was disgusting. So yeah, that has just been my healing hack. And if you are anybody who is healing just from anything, I will say, when you get that strength to clean, use it. Like, do it and try to get as much done in that time frame, because so easily we don't even know that we're just functioning, that it can be really hard to get those daily things done, those things that at one time seemed simple or seemed like a chore that like you just know you got to do, so it's like, let me do it. But when you get the strength to do that and you're someone who's healing, I definitely advise you to do it and get it out the way. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump to our episode today. And today, okay, first of all, can I tell you guys, over the weekend, last week, I randomly made this reel. And the reel was this.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 a.m. Hopefully this does not wake you up. Whew. Wow. There's so much I want to say to you.
And so I randomly made it one night. And I was like, I'm going to just post it because, I mean, this seems to be the buzz. This seems to be what everyone's talking about. And if you're watching, I'll post a clip here. If you're not watching, watch. Or you can just head over to my Instagram, Girl That's J Kyle, or Just Healing Podcast, and you'll see the reel. But I posted this reel and I pretty much said, having a little grace for Blake Lively, because if Justin Baldoni left me this voicemail, I too would fall in love and crash out. Y'all, I literally thought I was just being funny. Like, I thought I was just being my kiki self, like being funny. And this video, so the first night, I want to say it hit like, I don't know, 60,000. So even at 60,000, I was like, whoa. And so I have one other reel that is at 149,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, even if this reel gets to 150,000, like I would feel so, like accomplished, because I would feel like, girl, you did that. Y'all, it just kept going. When it hit 500,000, and mind you, this was all in like a week. When it hit 500,000, actually less than a week. When it hit 500,000, I was like, oh wow. So when I was like, oh wow, I went and typed it in ChatGPT, like, if your reel hits a 500,000, what's the likeliness that it'll hit 1 million? And ChatGPT was like, absolutely, it's gonna hit 1 million. Y'all, like within the next day, it was at 1 million. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what I thought I was just being funny with, literally this 13-second reel where I just used hashtags like it ends with us, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively. Of course, I had my title, what do you call it? Hook. Had my hook, my visual hook. But I just was so like, what the heck? I also want to say that I seen this post today, and it said, what happens when, none of your friends who are on your social media repost your stuff or, like your stuff? I've personally never been that type to expect my friends to repost my stuff. I've never expected my friends to like every single thing I post. I've never expected my friends to comment on every single thing I post. I've never expected my friends to see my episodes of my podcast or see my reels and share them. If they do, awesome. But I'm just not the type of friend who's going to be like, oh, I'm not your friend, you a hater, oh my gosh. Like, that's just not me. And I seen so many people in the comments, and they were saying like, that friend's a hater, they hate you behind your back, blah, blah, blah. They want to see your downfall. And personally, I was just like, kind of unpopular opinion. I don't feel that way. Like, I feel like sometimes it's not their audience. They're not your audience. They just happen to be your social media friend because you guys are friends in real life. And so for my friends, like when I post my kids, which is so rare, or when I post, like just me, that is usually when I see the engagement from my friends. And I am actually really okay with that. Like, I don't know, I'm really okay with it, because when I went into my insights on this reel that I'm talking about, I was able to see that literally 99.1% of the engagement came from non-followers. So what that means is I have literally over 1 million people who engaged with me. And because now, y'all, the video's at 1.8 million. So I have over 1 million people that engage with me. And although the number of my followers were so low, the number of people who know me were so low, I also had to take into account, I don't personally know all of my followers. But even those small that I do, those small that I talk to probably, once a week, some every day, I still don't expect them to be the ones sharing this content, if that makes sense. Like, for me, I just don't feel like that's a hater move. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my unpopular opinion is just super unpopular. I don't know. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to get that out there really quickly because at first when I looked at it, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, cause like, I'm gonna try to find it and see if I can post it. But the number of followers put up to non-followers was insane. Like insane. And I'm like, this would really discourage some people. Or if some people didn't have friendships or relationships that weren't built on a strong foundation, this could really break them up. It's kind of like when you have a birthday dinner and that one friend doesn't come and you're like, we're not friends no more. And it's like, girl, over a birthday dinner? Come on. Anywho, let's get back to business. So if I can be really honest, y'all, I do not be knowing if people aren't like if I'm not culturally engaged, I really don't be knowing about people's business. Like how I really didn't know that much about Allison and Twitch Boss. Y'all, I found out who Blake Lively was at the 2024 Super Bowl when she was with Taylor Swift. Kid you not, I had no idea who she was. I had, of course, seen her in Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. And I seen her in, what is that movie she had on Netflix with Anna from Trolls? I don't know. But I've seen her in that movie. And yeah, Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. I'm sure she's been in other things I've seen. But the point is, I didn't know who Blake Lively was. Ryan Reynolds could not have told you that that was the man who played Deadpool. Never really watched Deadpool. So I just don't be knowing unless I know. You feel me? You get where I'm going here? One person I do know who they are is Justin Baldoni. You want to know why I know who Justin Baldoni is? Because that is one fine specimen of a man. He is fine. Justin Baldoni is it. And we're going to get into that. Okay? We're going to dive into that. So, also, I know Justin Baldoni from Jane the Virgin. If you guys never watched Jane the Virgin, it was such a good feel-good show. Like, Jane the Virgin just would make me so happy. I started watching it when Kennedy was probably young. I'm talking like newborn months. I started watching Jane the Virgin and I just fell in love. Like, I just loved the show so much. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I'm pretty sure it is. But if you have not watched Jane the Virgin, please go watch it. Justin Baldoni plays a character named Raphael, and he is a very important part in Jane the Virgin, but he's just also so fine. And even when he played Raph, that's what she called him in the show, I was like, girl, you better get Raph because he is fine. And then I started watching him on Instagram a lot. Him and his wife have a podcast. I really enjoyed that. I loved his insight. I'm going to try to find one of my favorite videos of Justin Baldoni. He was talking to one of his friends. And that
I love you so fucking much. You're one of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life. You make me a better husband. You make me a better father. I love how you parent. You're the person I call at 3 a.m. when I'm having a panic attack that I've never had before. 2 years ago, I've never had one. Wake up, I'm having a panic attack. You literally coach me through it. You're amazing. You make everybody around you better. Everybody. And sometimes I'm jealous because your default mode is joy. And I've had to work towards it. But I will tell you, recently, I've been starting to experience some of what you've experienced and some of the way you live your life. And suddenly, recently, joy is becoming more of my default. And I know that would be impossible without having you as my best friend.
That is just when I was like, this is the level of emotional maturity I need in a man. So let's first talk about this Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, where all this drama came from. Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively starred in a movie called It Ends With Us. Let me just put out a disclosure. I have not been able to get past the first 10 minutes of It Ends With Us. I'm really going to try, because especially after listening to this podcast with Justin Baldoni that I'm going to tell you guys about, I listened to it this morning, but there was parts in there where I was like, I really need to give this movie one more push of a try. But for me, I'm not able to get into it. I don't know why. But yes, they starred in this movie. It Ends With Us. It's my understanding that it was Justin Baldoni's movie. But somewhere in the mix, Blake wanted to take full control. Some of the things that I wanted to point out from the movie. Number one, when I heard about the movie and it was coming out, and I knew it was about domestic violence, it was one of those things where I wanted to tread lightly, because as you guys know, I escaped in a domestic violence relationship, marriage, and it is some things that are extremely triggering for me. There are some movies I used to be able to watch that involve domestic violence, but sometimes in those movies where it ended in a woman losing her life or almost losing her life, I just really steer clear of those kind of things now, because I just feel like even though I'm out, I give myself thoughts of what if, so I really try to steer clear of that. However, I really wanted to give this movie a chance because it seemed really good. I did feel it was very odd when Blake Lively was doing press for the movie, and she kept saying, "Where your flowers, where your florals?" And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, why? Even with the movie having so much to do with domestic violence, why not tell people to wear shades of purple? Why not say wear shades of purple in honor of domestic violence survivors and unfortunately ones who did not survive? That was my first red flag. My second red flag was she did a lot of giggling while doing her press, while Justin Baldoni was a little more on the serious side. I didn't know if that was just their different personalities, or what I now know. I feel personally, my opinion, I think that Blake took it from a very entitled space. I believe that domestic violence was something she's probably never experienced. And because she's never experienced it, I think that, or maybe she has, and she's coming from a trauma bonded or trauma response, trauma response, trauma bonded or trauma response. Whatever the case may be, I think when people go into roles like that, they need to be fully prepared to carry that role out. When you have viewers who are survivors of domestic violence, it's really a slap in the face when you're going on here and you're grab your girls and wear your florals. Grab your girls and wear your florals. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Number one, maybe you shouldn't grab your girls. Maybe if you're a survivor, but this all comes with talking about the film that you're a part of. But maybe don't grab your girls. Maybe this needs to be a solo trip. Maybe this needs to be a trip where you come alone so you can think about your experiences. You can think about how you're relating to the movie. You can think, like, it wasn't a grab your girls movie for me. And this was just seeing previews and knowing what it was about. Like, I had been saying, oh, I'll be going by myself. Because it's something that when it resonates with you or when you've experienced it, that's not something you want to sit and be kikiing with your girlfriend about. You know what I mean? And so that was the first red flag for me. And then once the movie was coming out, of course, you started hearing all this about how, Justin wasn't invited to even view the movie. Like, so on the premiere night, she had him like in a basement. Like, he was not allowed to do the red carpet and enjoy the movie that he created. He created. And then you hear that Blake didn't even read the book. How are you playing a role for something you didn't read the book, especially when it's based off of the book? But it would make sense why you refused to wear, well, she refused to get a costume designer. So she just wanted to dress herself. And me, myself, I have not read the book nor watched the full movie. I am strictly talking from TikTok University at this point. However, stay with me because I think I have some points to make. But yeah, it's like you were wearing designer clothes and the person in the book was not dressing like this. The character in the book was obviously a victim of domestic violence. And so while you're wearing things that don't even correlate or can't even make someone visually able to see what's going on. Almost like one of those things where it's like the popular girl just gets the part because she's popular and she didn't have to do anything for it, she just gets the part. Which brings me to my next part. Because I didn't know who Blake Lively was, I didn't know she was super rich. I didn't know that her parents were also I didn't know anything about her. I also did not know that her and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, got married intentionally on a plantation. That's insane. Like, from that moment on, I was like, I don't like this girl. Because, like, why? Why'd you do that? Why'd you get married on a plantation? So, yeah, I think she never... When playing a role like that, you have to be so intentional. You have to ride it out. It's almost like when people play real people, you have to write it out. You have to know what your behavior is going to be like because you have to know that you're representing this person and their families are going to see this. So for Blake, you're representing literally every survivor of domestic abuse. So when you go onto your press tours and you're giggling and you're laughing and this is so fun, you're representing a survivor. And so then, since you're representing a survivor, you're making the other people and the abusers look at survivors like, oh, you're fine. You can just put on some florals and go watch this and be fine. And it's just something I really want people to start thinking about, especially when they go out for roles, when they go out for jobs, just anything. Like, that your trauma or your just nonchalantness carries when you're holding the weight of playing some of these roles. Because for you, it may be just a role. For you, it may be just a check. But you were quite literally, you had the opportunity to show survivors that you see them. You had the opportunity, along with Justin Baldoni, to show abusers that you also see them, but why they should also see themselves. And you ruined that. You ruined it. Like, it wasn't good. Which brings me to my next point. So in December, I want to say it was December 20th, that is when Blake Lively first filed her first motion, and so she would be considered the petitioner. Y'all know I'm an attorney now. So she would be considered the petitioner. Justin Baldoni then counter petitioned her original petition on December 21st. From then to now, so much has come out. I want to speak on this text message / voicemail as well as a video from a scene that I seen on Instagram. A scene that they were recording for the movie, but I seen it on Instagram. So let me start with the text message / voice note exchange, where the voice note is what I posted as my reel. So Blake Lively actually texted Justin first. And I will definitely try to insert the text messages into the video. But pretty much it was late at night, which then resulted in Justin replying with a voice note at 2 a.m. And that is when he states in the beginning of the voice note, "Hey Blake, it's 2 a.m. Y'all, that man is fine, okay? Justin Baldoni, I'm not gonna say it no more, but he fine. And we're gonna leave it at that. And so there was this huge outpour of the fact that he left this at 2 a.m. and that he has a wife and how does she feel about this, and that was so inappropriate and your voice is inappropriate, and oh my gosh, I would have been so grossed out if this was me. And it's almost like we don't realize that we're also talking about Holly Weird. So let's be clear. The time part did not resonate with me at all. Only because I feel like even as movie stars, they could have just gotten out of filming at 2 a.m. And so yeah, like the time thing just didn't do anything for me. I also want to know why people feel the need to act like it's his fault that he got a fine voice because he's a fine man. That's not his fault. Not his fault. Oh no, let me be serious. So there was another scene that I seen. A scene, SCENE, that I seen, SEEN. I know y'all struggle with those kind of things sometimes. And they were slow dancing. It was a part for the movie. And they were talking. But I guess in the movie, like you couldn't hear them talking, but they needed to look like they were talking, if that makes sense. But there was also music playing, so they were like, we still need you guys to talk and act like you're engaged in the talking, but no one will hear you in the movie. So during this time, Justin keeps bringing up, his wife and just his life. Like, it's not like he's being flirty. I didn't see it as flirty. And then there was one part where he went over to one part of the shoulder and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if she said my hair or my perfume. Something was going to be all in his face." This man was like, "I'll just go on the other side." Woof! These are all reasons why I get it, Blake. I get it. You fell in love, and that's okay. But just because you fell in love and your husband probably can you imagine you coming home and finding out that your wife is in love with Justin Baldoni? Could you imagine? I know Ryan Reynolds was sick, and that is why it was also made very clear that Ryan Reynolds started showing up on set. He started showing up to act like he wanted to know where Blake was. First of all, that's abusive, sir. That's controlling. Like, that's a level of control that you need to know where she's at. You want to be at her job every day. This is her place of employment. What do you need to be here for? And yeah, I just messy, tisk. So, the lawsuit's going on. Blake is saying, he was inappropriate, all these things, which I just personally, I don't like to say I don't believe victims, but when you also have someone else debunking everything you said, I almost rather, let's just play devil's advocate, what if they may have fallen in love on this set, genuinely fallen in love, and Blake does not handle it. She does not handle it because maybe her husband doesn't know how to handle it. Maybe Justin too knows that they fell in love. Maybe he went and told his wife, "You know what? I really effed up because we may have fallen in love, but the movie's over. I apologize for, I wouldn't, if it was Justin Baldoni, no, for real, I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't, but sometimes these things happen in marriage. Again, we are dealing with Holly Weird here, okay? We're not dealing with two regular old Joe co-workers who had a little fling. Also, have y'all ever had a fling at work? I have never had a fling at work. So much so, I've never even had a work husband. And I just want to say that before I ever get in another relationship, I want a work husband. I want to know what it's like. I want to know what it feels like. I just want to know. I want a work husband. And there it is. And if I do have a work husband, I will not fall in love with him and file a lawsuit. I can't say I won't fall in love with him. Well, I won't fall in love with him. But I also won't do a lawsuit. But I do want a work husband. And what if Justin Baldoni was Blake's work husband and it just turned out really bad? To the point where she was like, I'm so in love with him, but I have Ryan at home. So now Ryan knows, and now I have to file a lawsuit. It's just messy, but I also watched a podcast with Justin Baldoni today. It was the I Am Gent podcast. I Am Gents. And I'll leave it right here. And I'll also leave it in the description if you guys want to check it out as well. Justin Baldoni was the interviewee. And he started off just speaking on, the interviewer was pretty much saying, like, how do you manage to just be this man with, emotional intelligence? You seem like you got it all together. And here is, during that episode, how I was able to find out that Justin Baldoni is innocent in this case. I don't care what anybody says. So he said, he left these text messages to his publicist. I think he said his wife, his manager, and then maybe the other director, those people. And he was just saying, it's been a really hard day, which I'm guessing is because something, was wrapping up with the movie, or maybe it was like the premiere day, but he was just like, it's been a hard year. And he pretty much was warning the people in his circle that he's about to crash out. Like, I'm not doing good. I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling like myself. Like, I'm not doing good. And in the text messages, he didn't say anything about Blake. Just like on this podcast, he didn't say anything about Blake. That is so telling.
I am as somebody who is always trying to be radically sincere and authentic to myself so that I can be of service in the best way possible and have the most impact. And sometimes I can get lost in the same way that everybody gets lost. But healing isn't linear and growth isn't linear. And if you don't have setbacks, if you don't have plateaus, you don't have the opportunity to regroup and to push forward. So I share that with you because while I look like I am all of those things, and on paper, I am also just like everybody else in the sense that I take on more than I can chew. I overcommit. I say yes to things out of fear. I people please.
Even now.
Absolutely. I think we have to dispel the myth that so many thought leaders or self-help gurus or podcast hosts, authors have the keys to the kingdom.
That, he is being accused all around of, abusing her in some kind of way. And he didn't even speak on her name. And this is how I know he is not lying. And Blake may have just been in love, or maybe she's just being a very entitled woman, because that's a thing too. But, yeah, he spoke on so much. But two of the things that really got to me that he spoke on is he talked about his father and his upbringing, and that his father, really just did the best that he could, and just how our parents are quite literally, which I always try to tell myself this, but our parents are quite literally just going through life just like we are. And because they're going through life just like we are, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I always try to think about with my parents that they're older is that a lot of things they didn't know how to say, because the things that we're comfortable to talk about in our generation wouldn't have even come up in their houses. And so they don't even know how to address it. And so he said for his 40th birthday, he took his friends and his dad on a cabin trip. And he said his dad just broke down and just started apologizing for how he was when he was younger. And he's like, keep in mind, my dad wasn't abusive, but he wasn't really affectionate, and the things that he didn't learn, he didn't display. And I think that's so important for us to think about with our parents, that they can only display what they learned. And I think that can be good and bad. So if they grew up in a home with violence and abuse and toxicity, in some ways that's going to show up. Even if it's not physical abuse, even if it's not extreme emotional abuse, it's still going to show up in some kind of ways, because that's all they know. So that's all they're able to display. If they grew up in a home where there was no affection because, I don't know, maybe they didn't have any money, maybe their parents are working for hours in and out, that's what they're going to display, even if they're not working hours in and out, because that's all they learned. You display what you learn. And Justin Baldoni said that his dad just broke down and just apologized to him, and he was just like, of course I forgave my dad, because again, he was just doing what he knew. A second part that really grabbed me from that interview was that he said he really had prayed and hoped that any abusive man would sit out in the audience of that movie and they would see themselves on that screen.
A lot of vulnerability in the film that you just released.
This is a movie about trauma and ending generational cycles. Violence against women, as we know, is not a woman's issue, it's a man's issue. And no amount of I'm sorry's will ever undo it. Hurt people hurt people.
And them seeing themselves on that screen would be a wake-up call. It would be a wake-up call in a way of like, you need to change. You need to just stop. Because sometimes when you see yourself and when you're able to visualize it, I personally think it will change you. And if it doesn't, that's a problem. It kind of reminds me of this Netflix show. Well, it's part of a show, Black Mirror. But there's this Black Mirror episode. Is it Who is Jane? I'm gonna have to insert it. But in this episode, she is quite literally a Netflix show. And when she gets home, she turns on Netflix and she sees everything that she did that day. And I remember I watched this episode with my ex right before leaving, actually. And I remember saying, what do you think you'd think about yourself if you came home and you seen how you treated people on Netflix every day? Because for me personally, I'm like, I think it would be some things where I would be like, oh, Chaz, you didn't have to do that. But I don't think I would ever watch myself and just be like, oh my gosh, this is how I treat people, because I'm self-aware. I was trying to see if he himself could be self-aware Watch how I'm about to pull all this together. Blake saying, wear your florals, grab your girls.
Hello, Blake Lively here. Colleen Hoover. And It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
Her quite literally playing a woman being abused did not even calculate in her mind how women who are abused feel. So much so that she said, grab your girls, wear your floral, come out and have a ball. Like we're coming to watch the Barbie movie or something. She wasn't even able to watch herself and see herself in so many other survivors. I don't know if maybe my ex would watch an abuser and say, oh, that's mighty like me. I don't think he would. And now that I think about it, I've actually watched things with him where men were abusive and he said things like, I don't see how they could do that. You do it every day. But when we watched that show, I remember saying, do you think you would be able to come home on every day and watch yourself on Netflix? And his biggest thing was no, I could. He was like, but I wouldn't want other people to watch me on Netflix. There's something so telling about a narcissist. Blake Lively created all this chaos so that eyes wouldn't go on her of her shortcomings. And creating all this chaos. Now you have their trial isn't until March of 2026. So now you have another year of chaos to keep creating confusion, keep creating this power of, me and my husband are Ryan Reynolds. And in her eyes, I know you're just Justin Baldoni. You still have time to drop this. You still have time to just, settle with me, because she's not able to see herself. She's not able to see anything other than the perceived person who is just an entitled, rich, from a child, rich white woman. And I just really feel for Justin Baldoni, because I can only imagine how it feels to have all the pressure and fear from two A-list, very wealthy celebrities, and not know where your project's gonna go. Not like I know how I feel about my podcast, where I don't get any money from it or anything. Imagine putting on a movie that's going into millions of theaters and you don't even get to go see the premiere because you have this person who's so power hungry, so full of control, that has quite literally taken all that away from you. I'm sure I'll touch on it again, but I definitely just wanted to get out of my like natural thoughts. But I do want to get me some notes down so that we can start tracking with this. As you guys know, if it's nothing else, I know about the court systems now. And I just know how daunting it can be when you're getting frivolous motions. When you have people, quite literally trying to tear down your name for their power and just feeling good about themselves. And so, yeah, I definitely want to dive into it more, but I just wanted to, number one, congratulate myself on 1.8 million views. I am so proud of myself. It definitely gave me the push I needed and just kind of like the confidence that I am made for this. I love this. Even if it's a 13-second video, you know, I enjoyed it. And that's what it's all about. So with that being said, if you are someone who is, you know, into my content, just want to give me a follow, just want to see what I have coming up, please be sure to follow me on Instagram at Girl That's J Kyle and Just Healing Podcast. Be sure to listen to Just Healing Podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And also follow me over at TikTok, since it's back for now, at Girl That's J Kyle and Just Healing Podcast. And I'll talk to you guys in my next episode. Bye.